Previously on Higurashi when they cry Kai, Chapter 8.
高野くんもいろいろと運がなかった。時代にも恵まれんかった。もし何もない時代に研究をしておったなら、あんたに引き継がせることもなく見事研究を完成させておっただろうの。
ですが、そういう時代だったからこそ、皮肉にも祖父はひなみ沢症候群の存在に気づくことができました。
その金を私が託す。私がミオちゃんを高野くんの研究の正式な後継者だと認めたということなんだ。
ありがとうございます。私ごとき若輩に委ねてくださったことに深く感謝いたします。
いやいや、これは高野くんと君の研究だ。彼もミオちゃん以外が引き継ぐことを望まなかっただろうの。だからミオちゃんがここまで上り詰めたおかげで他の年寄りたちをより説得しやすかったわけだ。
If research into Hinamizawa syndrome continued, the higher-ups thought it would negatively influence the Japanese army's claims. So, in order to avoid the risk of traversing that political gray zone, they rejected Takano-kun's research.
そのため、この時代になってもなお、祖父の研究が顧みられることがなかったと。
そうだ。そういうことだ。私が言いたいのはつまり、ひなみ沢症候群には歴史すらも作りかねない魔力が宿っているということだ。それは日本社会すらもねじ曲げかねない。そこのところをよく肝に銘じて慎重に研究をしなさい。
If they actually wanted to research biological weapons, then it would be much faster to research diseases like smallpox and anthrax instead of unidentified diseases like Hinamizawa syndrome. So it wasn't actually correct to say the defense agency was interested in it as a biological weapon. In other words, Takano needed a powerful sponsor who could back her up with funding, personnel, and a facility to conduct her research.
ただ、研究会は今回の研究に予算をつけるにあたり、いくつかの条件を挙げています。一つは、先ほど先生が申し上げたこの度の研究に関する分野で優秀な才能を持つ人物に研究筆頭を委ねることです。
お言葉を返すようですが、私以上にこの研究に詳しい人物が高野先生を除いて存在するとお思いですか？
まあ、そこは高野さん抑えて。お気持ちはごもっともです。
それではその人物に私が研究を売り渡すのと何も変わらないではありませんか。全く話が違います。わかりました。そのあたりはお任せいたします。しかし高野先生がかつて軍にこの研究の援助を求めた時には断られたことを思うと、防衛庁が興味を示されたのが意外というか遅いというか複雑な気持ちですね。
それは仕方ありますまいな。
With the war situation worsening, the Japanese military sought something with immediate effect, something that could turn the war around.
決して高野先生の研究を見下していたわけではないはずです。
That wasn't true, of course. Takano already heard that confession from the old man. Takano remembered suddenly. They were right. Her grandfather had been a lieutenant commander in the Japanese military. Everything she had done until today was so she could continue her grandfather's research. Now everything had fallen into place. She had even been granted the same rank as her grandfather. She had always believed that succeeding his research would be proof that they had a bond tighter than blood. And now she would even be the same rank as him. This is fate, Takano thought. Maybe this is even a message from Grandpa? Yes, it must have been a shout of encouragement from heaven. It was proof that she inherited not only his research, but his will as well. Takano couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny for attaining the rank of major. And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Higurashi when they cry Kai Chapter 8. I'm still sitting here, taking in everything that I've seen so far regarding Miyoko's backstory up to this point, and I still am confused as to what exactly would make her want to genocide an entire backwater rural village like Hinamizawa in order to achieve godhood. Like, I could understand wanting to, create a legacy here in place of her grandfather and all that here, whereas he failed to do that. But again, I'm just wondering what exactly has happened in this lady's life at some point here that'd make her go that far to achieve that, and I'm not seeing anything. So probably something that's happened relatively recently, I would guess. At least probably a year or two before the curse of Orishiro-sama in Hinamizawa Village started with the dam foreman's death. At least that'd be my guess. But I could sit here speculating, but I think it's just it'd probably be best for me to hit continue and then just see how things play out, because there's really not any. I don't think there's really any information I can use here to figure out a solid guess anyway. Emphasis on solid guess.
ご紹介します。高野三佐です。三佐、こちらは入江京介先生です。
どうも、入江と申します。
Irie seemed extremely nervous at our first meeting. He probably thought I was in charge of some suspicious organization.
萎縮しなくて結構ですわ。高野とお呼びください。
恐縮です。この度はお引き立ていただき深く感謝いたします。
どうぞおかけになってください。
Seriously, this background noise sounds like as though they're outside near some busy street or something. A model, lower-class citizen was a good way to describe Kyosuke Irie's demeanor. One could also say he was the stereotypical type of person to get conveniently discarded after those crafty elders used their seniority to constantly pick on him. He certainly doesn't seem as cunning as I am. Well, that's certainly true, isn't it? But that doesn't mean he isn't ambitious. Like me, he's a young person who dreams of accomplishing something great and leaving his name upon generations to come. While he acts humble in person like this, his articles were actually progressive as well as aggressive. The gap between the two was quite intense.
hinamizawa症候群の資料を読ませていただきました。
いかがでしたか。
非常に驚くことばかりでした。確かに今日の医学の暗部に踏み込みかねない内容ではありますが、未だ世界で誰も解明していない神秘という点で知的興奮を抑えきれません。
Hearing that made me chuckle. Irie is more than interested in Hinamizawa syndrome, which is good enough for me. She had been through the ringer of far too many people to reach this day, so her honed intuition could tell. She would get along well with this man, at least until you decide to backstab him later on. If he isn't useful to me, he won't cause any problems. For both me and my sponsor, he's the best person possible for the job.
私こそ驚いております。入江先生ほどの博識かつ経験豊富な方が責任ある地位の仕事も与えられず、医局の片隅で飼いならされているので、これは医学界の重大な損失と言わざるを得ません。
Why do I have the feeling you're being insincere with this compliment of yours? Irie laughed. He probably thought I didn't know, but I had received detailed documents on him. So I knew why he was exiled from the limelight, despite his rare talent and achievements. He displayed extraordinary skill, working under a neurosurgery expert, and everyone expected a bright future from him. But he was kicked out due to an ethical controversy. So what did he do? Operate on someone without aesthetics or something? Irie's pet theory was that the antisocial behavior of individuals could be explained by brain disorders. Are we talking about antisocial behavior in the sense of antisocial personality disorder, aka sociopathy, or just antisocial behavior in general? He believed that no one in this world was born a villain, and that they were all just poor patients in need of treatment. An interesting way of looking at it. He proposed that they were all proper and normal when born, yet as they matured, psychogenesis and various exogenous factors caused brain disorders that made them into villains. That doesn't seem to be quite how it works based on my admittedly limited knowledge on biology and, well, you know, conception in the womb and all that. Because physical and neurological disorders can form in people when they're conceived in the womb here due to one factor or another. It could be genetic, it could be the parent ingesting some substances that could be toxic to the growth of the fetus, etc., etc. So, I don't exactly agree with this interpretation of his here. Therefore, what those evil people need isn't punishment, it is treatment. And if their diseases are treated, they will become good citizens again. Sounds kind of Orwellian, honestly. That manner of thinking actually fell in line with the Confucian belief of innate human goodness. According to this theory, humans are born with the capacity for altruism toward their kind, and it is only afterward that they learn and acquire cruelty. Irie believed that acquisition was the result of brain disorders. The human brain creates human thoughts. Therefore, if one becomes emotionally ill, that means their brain is ill. So, if their brain gets treatment, they will recover emotionally too. And, okay, so as flawed as I find this reasoning to be, I can at least understand the logic behind it. Or at least why he would think that, given his apparent belief. But what I want to know is, does the ethical controversy in question involve how he treated their brains? Well, of course it is. I just don't know how. That field was called psychosurgery. It's fallen out of practice in the current Heisei era, but the surgical techniques were applauded until mid-Showa, especially since it produced spectacular results in a chronic mental patient that was said to be incurable. The man who invented it even won a Nobel Prize. That was how revolutionary it was. Humans think. That's why they become ill. Everyone knows that's why those who overthink matters are prone to mental illness. When the organ that thinks and debates grows ill, humans deviate from social behavior. That part is called the frontal lobe. Put simply, psychosurgery is surgery performed to operate on the frontal lobe. This kind of surgery doesn't require removing the whole epicranium. A small hole is drilled through the cranium, and a special scalpel is inserted down to cut it. It's not a major surgery, just a technique for quickly operating on the precious frontal lobe. Indeed, it was revolutionary in its simplicity. All the severely ill mental patients miraculously recovered, so the technique spread around the world quickly. Those with obstinate and chronic mental illnesses, the severely ill trapped in deep, inescapable depression, all those could be saved by this technique. Throughout history, humans have come up with many different religions and magic tricks to heal emotional injuries. So, needless to say, the idea of being able to treat them with a surgical technique was truly revolutionary. Irie admired psychosurgery and pushed forward in the field of surgical techniques to treat human souls. However, from the modern human rights standpoint, severing a portion of the brain simply because someone is emotionally disturbed is absolutely out of the question. People gradually started to think differently, and said that psychosurgery was inhumane. The frontal lobe controls how people think, but it is also the part that makes humans act human. There were quite a few cases where that cut caused drastic, irreversible changes in the patient. A baseless happiness born from lack of thought. A change in personality. A loss of interest in everything. Major mood swings due to a lack of control over one's emotions. Some even lost part of their memories. Of course, some didn't even survive the surgery. By the mid-1960s, use of psychosurgery declined. Also, due to development of psychotropic medicine, the surgery was hardly performed anymore anyway. Yet, some people still believed in the idea and continued to perform the surgery and gather clinical data. They want people to recognize the value of the technique once again. Some of these surgeries were performed without consent. That's definitely a no-no. One theory is that in Japan alone, there were thousands of people who woke up from general anesthesia only to find part of their brain had been removed. Today, to perform such a surgery without a patient's consent is considered totally unethical, but it was different at the time. Well, thank God that's changed. For one thing, the idea that doctors required prior patient consent was proliferated in the modern Heisei era. Therefore, people at the time didn't think it was that big of an issue. It was only later that people started to argue that it was inhumane. Finally, a decision was reached, and the curtain closed with the rejection of psychosurgery. Later, the Japanese Society of Psychology and Neurology passed their resolution to end psychosurgery. After that, psychosurgery was banned throughout Japan and made a forbidden subject of Japanese medicine. Irie was the leading person in the field of psychosurgery. He continued to advocate its effectiveness and results. Therefore, he was treated as a war criminal who practiced inhumane medicine, and he was exiled from the public eye. However, that doesn't mean he changed his beliefs. He still believes that immoral behavior is caused by brain disorders, and the secret of treating them is, in fact, hidden in the brain. So the existence of Hinamizawa syndrome, caused by parasites living in the brain that control human emotions, actually affirms his theory.
私ごときでよろしければこの度の話ぜひ引き受けさせていただきたいと思います。
Why are we hearing street noise in this office? Are the windows open? Of course. Given Irie's history, he would never turn down this offer. Despite his mild-mannered appearance, Irie was possessed by a mighty ambition. There was no way he didn't desire a chance to complete research that would prove himself to the medical society that ostracized him. Remind you of somebody you know, Nurse Takano? Or sorry, Major Takano? I'm handing him that chance on a silver platter.
ありがとうございます。入江先生ならば、広報もあなたのような専門家を迎えられ、とても助かります。
しかし 私などが所長でいいのでしょうか。それは高野さんがやられた方がよろしいでしょう。私は単なる医者にすぎません。人の上に立ったことなど。
ご安心ください。それにつきましては、ワットップは制服ではなく背広からというのが上の希望でもあります。お気に召しませんか、入江所長という呼び名は。
いや、しかし
Irie laughed to hide his embarrassment.
現在、ひなみ沢に研究施設を建設中です。表向きは診療所ということになっています。入江先生にご快諾をいただけましたので、入江診療所という名前にいたしましょう。
一国一城の主とはもったいない話です。
あと身分を陸自で預かることになりますので、先生の席は陸自の医官という扱いになります。私の上司ですので2佐の階級になりますわね。入江2佐という呼び名はいかがでしょ
う。私は軍人じゃありません。2佐という呼び名は遠慮させていただきたいものです。所長だって恐れ多いくらいです。いやいや
He's getting a chance to research brain parasites, plus being given the title of director of a new clinic as camouflage. Plus it comes with staff and funding. He'll even have support from the Defense Agency and the Ministry of Health and Welfare, as well as a research lab with state-of-the-art equipment. No wonder he's laughing so excitedly. However, there are some risks too. Since he'll be involved with this secret research, he has an obligation to keep it a secret. Also, he is going to an area plagued by mysterious and bizarre disease. There's no guarantee he won't contract it himself. But Irie is too young to even think about those things. Aware of all the risks, he quickly signed the contract with the ambition to have people recognize his talent once again. When I saw him sign the contract, I finally relaxed. I knew he would agree to join us, but at the same time, I was afraid of the chance that he'd refuse. Selecting a director proved more difficult than expected, and the only candidate Takano paired well with was Irie. So if Irie refused to take the position, then frankly, she'd be placed in an even worse situation. Now that Irie has agreed to take the position, research on Hinamizawa syndrome can finally begin. The research center, or rather the clinic, will be completed next spring. The Ministry of Health and Welfare and the Defense Agency will send the best equipment and staff, plus an abundant supply of funds. Then finally, our research will begin in earnest. Everything is going well. Of course it is. I put so much effort into making sure things went smoothly up to this point.
以上です。就任おめでとうございます、入江所長殿。三佐、宣誓書へのサインを終わりました。
ありがとう。これからよろしくお願いいたしますわ、入江所長。
こちらこそよろしくお願いします。高野さん、仲良くやりましょう。私も全身全霊をかけて頑張ります。
こちらこそ。お互い最善を尽くしましょう。
Now that the position of director has been filled, everything is set.
それはよかったよかった。おめでとう、高野さん。高野三佐でしたかな？
これもすべて先生方のお力添えがあったからこそです。 高野美代、皆様に心より感謝させていただきます。
まあまあ、高野さんに本当の意味でおめでとうが言えるのは、研究ようやく入り口にたどり着いたに過ぎませんよ。
おっしゃる通りです。寝る間を惜しんで研究に身を投じていく覚悟です。
高野先生が成し遂げられなかった、さらにその先へ至られることを私ども一度楽しみにいたしておりますぞ。
まあまあ先生、今日はそういう堅苦しい話は抜きにしましょう。今日は高野さんのこれからと入江機関の設立を祝って乾杯と参りましょう。
乾杯の前にご挨拶申し上げます。厚生省の永田と申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
ああ、高野さん、彼をバシバシこき使ってやってください。彼のところの研究所は入江機関のバックアップをしてくれます。技術的に困ったことがあったらいつでも頼ってやってください。
こき使うだなんてそんな。こちらこそお世話になります。高野と申します。どうかよろしくお願いします。
高野さん、こちらも紹介しましょう。陸自から出向の富武君とお好み君です。
Tomataki and Okanogi, but especially Tomataki.
陸自側からのバックアップをします。ぜひご挨拶させてください。
はじめまして、富武と申します。この度のプロジェクトの監査役を仰せつかりました。どうかよろしくお願いいたします。
The funding for our research is largely coming from the SDF. It's only natural for the SDF to assign a watchdog to make sure reasonable research is taking place. However, someone in a position like that should be my opponent. Why was someone in that position invited to this private party? Does that mean this auditor is on my side too? Seeing that thorough groundwork, I can't help but feel the strength of having a sponsor all over again.
私は直接はひなみ沢に赴きませんが、定期的にお伺いして研究の進捗管理などをさせていただくことになります。
あら、それは残念ですわね。ひなみ沢は空気も良くて自然も素晴らしいところですのよ。ぜひ仕事以外でも気軽に遊びにいらしてくださいね。
ありがとうございます。そうさせていただきます。
If he really is an auditor, I should maintain a good relationship with this man. He'll hold a key to all future adjustments of our funding, so long as we continue drawing it from the SDF.
おこのぎと申します。よろしくお願いいたします。
Nice to meet you too, you two-faced prick.
彼は不正規船部隊の一つ、山犬の隊長です。ひなみ沢に常駐し、三佐を直接サポートします。
ボディーガードみたいなものと思っていいのかしら。
要人護衛、機密保持が主な任務です。三佐の直接の手足となりますので、どうかこき使ってやってください。
よろしくお願いします。
Tomataki seems to be an honest type for a military man, but this Okanogi person looks the complete opposite. His main job is to preserve secrets, but I bet he's also good with espionage tactics like counterintelligence and information control. Yes, that would explain his demeanor. Since the SDF is funding our research on Hinamizawa syndrome, of course this is considered a military operation. Therefore, this research has to be done in secret. That's why a unit like this is necessary. Besides, it's very reassuring to have someone capable of combat working under me. I should maintain a good relationship with him, too.
さあさあさあ、挨拶はこれくらいにして早く乾杯に移りましょう。さあさあ、富武君も足を崩して。今日は入江機関の前途を祝して無礼講で参りましょう。
While this is supposed to celebrate the establishment of the Irie Institute, Irie himself isn't here. But that is his job, after all. Irie is simply a puppet to fill a seat. Of course, I expect him to help me a little with his expertise, but he's ultimately an outsider. Poor Irie. This was supposed to be a gathering where I would show my appreciation to those who helped me establish the Irie Institute, but it has turned into them thanking me for all my efforts. I'm always the one to pour alcohol for others, but today people are pouring alcohol in my glass. The new participants were trying to make me happy, and all the top people talked to me casually. They all praised my hard work and my efforts. My research is now recognized by many institutions, and I'm ready to spread my wings open wide. And all the people who are expecting some returns, once the research accomplishes something, are trying to curry favor with me. But right now, I'm just very grateful, regardless of their motives. Probably should care a little more about their motives.
入江機関の設立と高野美代君の今後ますますの発展を祈願して乾杯に移りたいと思います。先生、温度をお願いいたします。
It's like a dream. I know. This is just the beginning, and I shouldn't be satisfied with this alone. But just for today, I can forget about everything else and enjoy the celebration. I'm not a heavy drinker, but the drinks taste good tonight, and the more I drink, the happier I get. This is really wonderful. To be called Major by Tomitake and the others is wonderful too. That's the rank my grandfather had during the war. That means I finally caught up with my grandfather. This is only the beginning. From here on, I intend to reach what my grandfather couldn't. This is the best night of my life. And I take it the universe is going to pull a funny, or at least its idea of a funny, and then make the following night the worst one of your life, right? I ended up leaving to fix my makeup. I'm filled with elation. I need to feel fresh air to calm myself down. My heart is about to explode because I'm so happy. The gathering is taking place a little distance away from the main building. The restroom is in the main building, so I need to walk across the hallway. A beautiful and well-maintained Japanese garden is visible from the hallway. It's raining. I usually don't like rain, but I don't mind it at all today. I feel like even the raindrops are congratulating me. The cool air feels pleasant on my hot skin. It took me a moment to notice how unsteady my footsteps had become. Maybe I drink a little too much. It isn't like me to drink more than I can handle. Although this is a party, I don't want to embarrass myself, so I decided to cool off a little by looking at the beautiful Japanese garden. I found an elegant chair set on a red carpet nearby, and sat down on it. Since I was with the associates until now, I was forced to constantly be on guard against embarrassing myself. But now that I was alone, I could let go and truly relax. When I look up to the sky, I realize it's still raining hard, but in the distance the horizon is a little lighter. Maybe it won't be raining for much longer. Well, that's normal. Rain stops eventually. No matter how cold it is or how hard it's raining, rain stops eventually. I saw a pair of sandals and an umbrella, almost inviting me. So I took them into the garden. The tasteless laughter coming from the party sounds far away. I tilted the umbrella and looked up at the sky. I felt the raindrops hit my face. I gazed up at the sky for a while, forgetting all about my hair getting wet. I thought the rain would cool down my boiling heart. But as my body got cold, I started to feel miserable. My bare feet were all swollen, and the throbbing pain I felt made them seem twice their normal size. What'd you do? Oh, we just cut right back to the past. Okay, for a second there, I was like, what'd you do? Just stand out there until your feet literally got swollen and stuff? The gravel road continued forever. I didn't even know what direction I was headed in anymore. I could no longer hear my pursuer. I probably lost him by running through the woods like mad. My body is covered in scratches. Okay, so wait. Did you escape from him once he got a hold of you, or was that part just a dream and you actually managed to get away? My body was covered in scratches. I finally started to feel the pain from that. I felt both cold and hungry. There was no place nearby to take shelter from the rain. I was just on a little path in the woods. My worst fear was that I could end up heading back towards the orphanage, after bolting and losing my sense of direction. I'd crushed that man's finger. Okay. I didn't think I bit it off, but I was sure it would leave a scar. Taking that into consideration, it was very clear to me what kind of torture awaited me back at the orphanage. Therefore, I'd have to reach the House of Love and Mercy. If it only had been in the daytime, then I could easily have found the right way to go. However, this rain, there was nothing I could do. But I couldn't stop. I had to keep walking until I reached something. I wondered if Eriko and the others had escaped safely. I didn't know how many people came after us, but at least one came after me. In other words, it meant that they had a better chance. Did they reach the House of Love and Mercy? Were they drying themselves with soft towels? You know, I keep hearing the name, the House of Love and Mercy, and I can't help but wonder. If she does actually manage to reach this place and they take her in, is it going to actually live up to its namesake? Or is the universe going to play a cruel prank on her and introduce her to an even worse orphanage than the one she just fled from? If I were a betting man, and I kind of am, honestly, my bet's on the latter. Were they drying themselves with soft towels? If they still remembered me, would they save a towel for me too? I don't know why they wouldn't remember you. I felt so cold. I wanted to find shelter and sit down. Here we are in front of the not entrance to the Sonozaki underground complex. But there was nothing of the sort. I saw a tree that looked like I could take shelter under it, but the branches and leaves were dripping with water. It was then that I realized that the sky was gradually getting darker. Would this day end in rain? There were no streetlights where I was. Soon enough, it would be totally dark. Then I wouldn't be able to walk any further. I just wanted to sit down, even if it was raining. But if I did sit down, I probably wouldn't be able to stand up again. So I endured. If I hadn't escaped with Eriko and the others, I wouldn't have had to go through such misery. But compared to what I had to go through at the orphanage, this was nothing. Thinking about that was the only way to make myself move. But when I thought about that, it's true that this freezing cold rain was far better than my life at the orphanage. But that was only when compared to the life at the orphanage. Was it better than the normal lives of normal kids my age? I didn't even need to think about that. When my parents were alive, although we weren't rich, we led a normal life. The gentle smiles and forgivable selfishness. The sound of my mother cooking breakfast in the morning. The sound of a newspaper being folded. Precious memories like that. I didn't need anything else. I had plenty of friends. I had fun at school. I didn't like my teacher, but I liked studying. I had everything I needed. That was enough for me. I never complained. I never did anything bad. So why was this happening to me? Everything went downhill after that train accident. The die of fate kept rolling a 1. The die never showed its good side to me. If the accident was my fault, then I could have accepted it. But it wasn't. I wasn't even there. I waited for my parents at home. I liked going to the mall with them. We always had a meal at the restaurant in the mall. I always told them to let me know if they were going to the mall. But on that day, they went without me while I went to my friend's house to play. My friend wasn't in, so I went back home. I didn't see anyone at home, and found a note that said they were going to the mall. I regretted going to my friend's house. I waited at home. How ironic. The one time they leave you behind to go to the mall, that was the event that basically saved your life. They didn't come home. They were still gone by dinner time. I was getting hungry and got angry with my parents for leaving me. I thought they were having dinner at the mall restaurant without me. If I hadn't gone to my friend's house, I'd be eating dinner at the restaurant too. I loved the little flags that came with the kids' meals. I was collecting those flags. Yes, I was. I was trying to collect 20 of them, thinking that once I collected 20, something wonderful would happen. But I couldn't collect 20 of them. I only needed one more. If I had one more, maybe the accident wouldn't have happened. A very sad memory of a flag from a kid's meal. I kept waiting for my parents to come home from the mall. I was hungry, so I started to eat some dried fish. If I ate too much, my mother would find out, so I was careful not to gorge myself. Then the phone rang. I assumed it was from my parents. I answered the phone in an angry manner, but it wasn't them at all. And that's when you were called to the hospital. What happened to the house? We had rented it, so maybe someone else had already moved in. What happened to my room? What about my desk and all the flags that were in the right middle drawer? If it wasn't my house anymore, then where was I supposed to go? Even if it remained my house, my parents wouldn't be there to welcome me or protect me. Just because I didn't have my parents to protect me, the whole world became so cruel. How could anyone take me away from the house I was used to living in, just because my parents were gone? Why didn't they just leave me alone? They asked me many things. They tried to confirm many things. But how could I have understood any of the forms they gave me? I was asked a yes or no question. I had no choice but to answer yes. Before I knew it, I ended up at the orphanage. It was beyond heartless. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just a little girl. I had to sign so many papers. But why this? The warm and gentle world suddenly ended without advance notice, and I was thrown into the cruel and merciless world alone. Was this the real world? Did I have any allies at all? Just because my parents died and I didn't have any relatives, the world had become so sad. When is the die going to come up with a 6 instead of a 1 to make up for the continuous series of the latter? Tears were pouring down my cheeks. Salty taste further saddened and irritated me. I couldn't do anything but cry. But no matter how hard I cried or pitied myself, the cold rain wouldn't warm my body or save me. I didn't even know where I was or in which direction I should go. Eriko showed me the map to the House of Love and Mercy when we were planning our escape. But we only learned the shortest route. I was completely lost. But strangely, after I finished crying, I felt a groundless strength within myself. I once learned that tears wash away particles in the eyes, but there is a different purpose to them too. Tears also wash away what's in the heart. I clenched my fists and forced my feet to move. I headed in the direction I believed to be the correct one on the gravel road. The rain was still pouring, and it was getting darker and darker. I roared at the sky amidst the rain. My sadness was turning into anger. As I looked up, I felt the raindrops hit my face. There is no God. I knew that in my heart. But such disbelief wouldn't save me. If I believed he was there, I should have been saved. No, I needed him to be there. Was he going to answer me? I heard thunder. Then I realized he was there. He was there, and he was listening to me. In his eyes, everyone was supposed to be equal, and he was listening to me. I heard thunder again. He was listening. I continued. 私の運命が神様の何かの間違いだというのなら、もう私を解放して、これで私の不幸を終わりにして、私を今日までの不
でももしこれが私に与えられた運命でこのまま私に生涯を終えろというのならこんな人生いらない。私を殺してよ。その雷で私を打ちつければいい。落雷で殺されてしまうという。さあ試してみなさい。私の人生を無慈悲に奪ったようにその雷で無慈悲に私を打ち据えればいい。
I heard thunder again. It was loud enough to make me shiver. Normally, I would just hide in the house and wait until the thunder went away. But on that day, I wasn't afraid.
さあ殺せ。ただし美代子はここにいる。私のお父さんとお母さんを奪ったように私の命もここから奪え。
The heavens replied to my provocation. The heavens took aim at me, a lowly human who dared sling constant, insolent insults at them. That was my wish. I opened my arms. He's God, so he wouldn't miss me. However, I guess even God makes mistakes sometimes. Although he's supposed to be fair, he had been unfair with me.
さあ狙え。殺せ。私を天に連れて行け。だがもし私を殺し損ねたなら私の運命をひっくり返してみろ。哀れな子。
Who the hell? A flash from heaven. I thought I smelled something burning just before it hit. The sheer force knocked me to the ground. It was a strange experience. It was something that had just happened, but it already felt like it happened many years ago. I had no idea how long I was down for. I smelled something odd. The bad stench woke me up. When I looked, I saw that a huge tree behind me had been split open. Its leaves were smoldering. That was too close. I looked up and saw sparks in the darkness. I couldn't understand what just happened. What almost happened was that you were nearly turned into a human fish stick. I just stood there. The thunderbolt had struck. It didn't strike me. It struck the tree behind me. I didn't get to die. He was telling me to keep walking in the woods in the cold rain. I won my bet with God. I bet my life. I bet my life against the lightning and thunder. It could have killed me instantly. But he missed, so he had to fix my life. I looked up at the sky, laughing and bragging that I was still alive. I heard thunder again. It was acknowledging its loss. You keep telling yourself that. Come on, God. Save me. I won the bet, so save me from this misery. I stood there. I waited for God to do something while the rain poured down on me. But he didn't answer me again. I couldn't hear the thunder anymore. Again, I felt the warm tears pour down my cheeks. What was I thinking? If there was a God in heaven, he wouldn't have let anything like this happen to me. My miserable life was the proof of God's non-existence. Yeah, well, Job felt the exact same way, so... Trust me, sweetheart, you're far from alone when it comes to feeling that miserable life That miserable life that you must be experiencing must be the proof of God's non-existence. You're nothing special in that regard. This isn't me trying to make light of your suffering here, by the way. I'm just saying, you're far from the only person who's ever come up with that idea, so, I mean... yeah. The darkness was about to swallow me utterly. Would I have to sleep out there? God must have wanted me to die slowly in this cold rain, instead of granting me an instant death by lightning. I wish the sun would go away. I wish the sun would never rise. I wish that, as the woods had grown completely dark, my existence would be hidden by that darkness. I wish that I could just disappear. Had it been an eternity, or was it a matter of seconds? I couldn't even tell time in such darkness. It was then that I saw something. It was a light. I noticed it only because the woods were so dark. But was it really there? Had it been there this whole time? I felt like the light was inviting me towards it. It was a fluorescent light. I didn't only like fluorescent lights because I always thought they looked cold. But I didn't feel coldness from that white light. I made myself believe that the light was a guide sent by God. I thought you didn't believe in God. I had to believe, otherwise I wouldn't be saved. The light reflected in a puddle. I see a car. It wasn't a muddy puddle. It was a puddle on asphalt. I had made it out of the woods. It was on a paved road. The light was a street light. Being on a paved road didn't really resolve anything. Not true. If you keep going down the road, you'll eventually reach something, whether it be an inn or a place of business, or hell, this orphanage you're trying to get to. So just keep moving and stay on this path. It was just a country road. It was a road that went through the woods, so there were no houses, no shops, and not even a single car going by. There weren't too many street lights on the road, so it was still very dark. My feet touched the asphalt. It felt so different from the gravel I had been walking on earlier. It felt almost merciful. My feet had grown used to walking on gravel, but after feeling the softness of asphalt, I never wanted to go back into the former again. I could only choose between heading left or heading right. I was grateful to God for leading me to this asphalt road, but I wished that He had given me a little more guidance. Such a little bit of luck couldn't make up for all the unhappiness I'd gone through. And that was when I sensed His guidance. I saw another light in the distance. It was only on the right side. I headed towards it. And when I got there, I understood what it was. I was amazed to find it there. A telephone booth. Who would actually make a call in the middle of nowhere? You, maybe? A telephone booth in the countryside was rather unusual. There were plenty of red public phones all over, but I'd always thought telephone booths only existed in big cities. It almost looked as though the telephone booth had been put there as punishment for doing something bad. Probably because it dropped a call right at the worst possible moment, and so somebody filed a complaint. When I thought that, I felt bad for the lonely telephone booth. It reminded me of myself. Well, If you got super strength, I could recommend that you just bring it along with you so you have company. Even if I went inside the telephone booth, what could I even do in there anyway? Well, you could stay dry. I already knew the answer to that question, but no matter what, I had to get in there. The door squeaked as I opened it. There were lots of moths and other bugs flittering around the light. I usually hated bugs, but in that moment I felt that they were my friends, sheltering from the rain like me. There was no heater. It was still very warm inside of the booth. It sheltered me from the cold rain. Soon enough, I crumpled to the floor. The warmth from the fluorescent light embraced me gently, and I felt like it was telling me it was okay to cry. But I had no more tears left, because I cried them all when the lightning struck. Aching scratches covered my body. My cows were in pain too. Everything hurt everywhere, and I didn't want to get up ever again. I wished I could fall asleep. But if I did that, the staff from the orphanage might find me. The windows on the booth were high up, so if I sat down, I wouldn't be visible from the outside. But as it was the only shelter in these dark woods, the staff would be sure to check it. That was why I couldn't stay there for long. Telephone booths from back then weren't completely made of glass, so it was possible to hide inside one. My exhausted spirit understood that I had to move, but I just couldn't make myself. Maybe I was experiencing some kind of vision. I felt a strange calmness that I'd never experienced before. I didn't feel that I was myself. It was very strange. I thought that maybe I was killed by that lightning. I'd assumed that I was still Miyoko Tanishi, but maybe I wasn't her at all. I seriously considered those things. Then I started to think that the telephone booth had something to do with it, because God led me there. He couldn't have done so just because it was providing shelter from the rain. There had to be something else. I wondered what it was. Could there be something in the booth that could save me? Phone number, maybe? But what? A telephone booth is used to make a phone call, but I didn't have any money. But then, I noticed something that looked like copper. My heart skipped a beat. The 10-yen coin I saw wasn't there before. Did I just miss it? I didn't think so. It must have just showed up. In other words, this 10-yen coin was guidance from God. Or you just missed it. You are exhausted, after all. He was telling me to make a call with that coin. But who? There was no telephone book. In that case, I could only call a number I knew. Did God want me to do that then? There was only one coin. I could only call one number. And I couldn't talk for that long. I had challenged God earlier, so it was just a matter of course to think that God was challenging me in return. I only had one chance, and he wanted me to test my luck with that chance. I left the phone booth and looked up at the sky. Then I yelled in my heart. You're on, God. I wondered who I could call. Who? Didn't you just say that there was only one number you could call? My house? My parents were dead, and I had no relatives. Even if I called, nobody would answer. Actually, the phone bill wouldn't have been paid for a long time, so the phone line would already be disconnected. My house was my lost life itself. No, the debris of my life. Calling home would simply be an expression of regret, which ran counter to the positive attitude of one trying to change their life. So surely using the coin to call my house was wrong. Which meant I had to cast this 10 yen coin towards my future. Future? My future? What future, anyway? Then I heard a huge thunderclap, which cleared my mind. In that clear state of mind, I saw something from the past. It was the last sight of my father. His final moments on the hospital bed. Though suffering from pain, he tried to tell me something very important.
もしもな、お父さんが死んだら、高野先生を頼りなさい。高野一二三先生だよ。言ってみなさい。
高野一二
そうだ。高野一二三先生だよ。高野先生はお父さんの恩師なんだ。きっとお前を助ける。
お父さん、お父さん、お父さん、お父さん。
Many doctors came into the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctor stopped him from talking, so it wasn't audible. It shouldn't have been, but it was to me. I heard it. I heard it, but I didn't want to hear him say it while suffering, so I pretended that I didn't hear. He shouted a phone number, I assume. He said it while coughing. I heard it. They were numbers. I swallowed once. That's right. It was a phone number. He knew nobody would take me in, because we had no relatives. He told me to get in touch with him, Dr. Ifumi Takano. He tried to tell me his phone number. What had I done? He tried so hard, using his last chance to tell me the most important thing. The thunder from earlier had made me remember it. The number I couldn't remember even once came out so smoothly. I dialed it in. This really was it. This was the number for my father's teacher, Dr. Takano. But my hand stopped just as I tried to put the coin in. What if I hadn't remembered it correctly? No, there was no need to hesitate. I had to believe in myself. This had to be the correct number. I had to dial it before I forgot it again. I picked up the phone and put the coin in. Beep. I heard the dial tone on the other end. At that point, I decided to kill myself if it didn't work. I could go back into the woods and wait for another lightning bolt. I could lie down and let the rainwater drown me too. I could also fall asleep in the middle of the road and wait for a car to run me over. I made up my mind and put the coin in. I didn't hesitate any longer. I dialed the number at once, but I had to be careful. If you dial quickly, sometimes you can make mistakes. I was getting irritated, and it almost made the phone number go vague in my head. I dialed the last digit, and heard some electronic sounds on the other end. I hoped that I dialed the correct number. I didn't know what to say to Dr. Takano if it did connect. Where was I? What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to ask him? I didn't know any of those things. Making a call isn't cheap. 110 yen coin would only buy me short time to talk. The line must have connected then. I heard a ringtone. I only had a short time once someone answered the phone. I thought for a moment that I should put the phone down. Then I could at least get the coin back. I could call back after sorting out my thoughts. But then, someone answered.
もしもし、高野です。
I felt like I was suffocating. My memory had been correct. I couldn't tell the age of the speaker, but it was a grown man's voice. Anyone who was my father's teacher must have been quite old. Never mind that. I had to hurry and say something. Hurry.
高野先生ですか？高野ひふみ先生ですか？
ん？そうですが、どちら様ですか？
He must have been suspicious. I couldn't blame him. A stranger was asking him about his name. Of course he'd get suspicious.
ごめんなさい。私、田無美代子と申します。
田無さん？はい。
私の父に高野先生に電話しろって言われたんです。父は田無武光と言います。
田無。ああ、田無くん。ああ。
His voice suddenly changed. Dr. Takano had remembered his old student.
私、娘です。お父さんに電話しろって言われて。
田無くんに何かあったんですか？
Not good. I was going to run out of time.
お父さんとお母さんが事故で死んじゃって、それで高野先生に電話しろって言われたんです。
田無くんがお亡くなりに？そうですか。二人とも？それは本当にお気の毒です。田無くんは私が大学で講師をしていた時、しばらく交流があったことがあります。何事にも勤勉な良い青年でした。結婚式に呼んでもらった時にあったのが最後だったような気がします。
This is all very interesting and all, but I am literally running out of time here. Obviously, he didn't know I was born. But he remembered my father. That was truly a stroke of luck.
それで、田無君は私に何と？
I didn't know what to say. I was only told to call Dr. Takano. How could I tell him that? My time was running out. I felt more and more anxious by the minute. Phone calls are disconnected without notice, but somehow I sensed it. I only had enough time left for one sentence, so I decided to say one sentence filled with all of my hopes. The phone call got disconnected. Maybe only heard part of what I said. I could only hope he was able to sense my despair. I couldn't hear anything from the receiver anymore. But I actually talked to Dr. Takano. I confirmed that Dr. Takano existed. He existed, and he remembered my father. If he grieved over his student's death, he would come visit my house. And he would find out I was sent to an orphanage. And he would come get me. That's when tears flowed down my cheeks again. I'd thought that my life was hopeless. I never knew that finding even a grain of hope could make me feel so happy and strong. The voice I heard on the phone was so warm and dependable. My father must have thought about me for a long time in that hospital bed, and came up with a name that he could trust his daughter with. Dr. Ifumi Takano. So I could trust Dr. Takano. I had to believe that he would find me. But it might take more than just a few days. I'd have to wait patiently. A few days? A month? More? I could only wait patiently. Either way, I couldn't stay in the telephone box. The staff would easily find me there. I went out into the rain again. But this time, the rain felt a little warmer than before. I had wished to die by lightning. But after that phone call, I was filled with hope and the will to live. I wanted to live, and that was why I felt pain all over my body. When I still wished to die, I didn't feel anything. I had to wait patiently until Dr. Takano came to pick me up. I had to get to the House of Love and Mercy. That would be the best place to wait for him. I didn't think the orphanage would tell him I escaped to the House of Love and Mercy. But the house wouldn't stop me from calling him. All I'd have to do was call him again and let him know where I was. That's assuming they'll even let you use the phone. Well, I didn't know where I could find the House of Love and Mercy. I couldn't see any signs anywhere, and I didn't know what direction the orphanage I escaped from was in. But I couldn't just stop. I had to walk. I had to find shelter. I had to find someone and ask for directions to the House of Love and Mercy. I had to keep going, because I finally saw a light at the end of the tunnel. The chills and throbbing pain tormented me, but I couldn't die until I met Takano-sensei. I wished a car would come by. Did she arrive in Hinamizawa? If it was someone who lived in the area, I could ask, or at least close to it, but the police wouldn't do me any good. I was sure the orphanage had already called the police about our escape, and they wouldn't be forgiving. The police were sure to send me back to the orphanage. Either way, I wished that someone would show up. Otherwise, I'd have to keep walking on the asphalt in the darkness forever. How long did I walk? Still no car. Just as I couldn't help but think that maybe the world perished, leaving only me behind, a car showed up. I sensed the car coming up behind me, so I turned around. I saw their headlights approaching me. I thought for a moment. Should I stand in the middle of the street to stop the car? It was so dark. I didn't think the car would notice if I just waved at it. If I were to stand in the middle of the street, I could get run over. While I thought, The car was getting closer and closer. When I made the phone call, I panicked and didn't know what to say. So with this car, I had to think very carefully. If I couldn't think of anything, then I should have just let the car go. With those thoughts vaguely on my mind, I was incredibly surprised when the car slammed the brakes with a screech and came to a stop. Maybe I wasn't all there after that miraculous experience of lightning striking near me. I had half lost my mind in those dark woods, so I probably wasn't thinking very straight. Because the car had stopped after recognizing me. In other words, the driver knew who I was. And the only people in the area who would recognize me were the orphanage you just ran from. Suddenly, a chill ran through my whole body. I started to dash away. I heard a voice calling after me. I no longer had the strength to run. My feet were trembling, and I couldn't make them cooperate. I realized then I shouldn't have sat down in the telephone booth. That was why I couldn't keep running. I was suddenly grabbed from behind, the collar of my clothes almost choking me. I heard fabric being ripped. I fell in the puddle, and a staff member got on top of me. This time, his finger wasn't in my mouth. All I could do was struggle. As I did so, I remembered all the scary stories Eriko and the others told me. All the torture the child who was caught had to endure. The drowned ducky punishment, the mashed caterpillar punishment, and the splayed piggy punishment. The names of those eerie-sounding punishments came to my mind. I screamed and struggled with all my might, but it was too late. I was shoved into the back seat of the car. Why couldn't they just let me go? Simple. They didn't want me talking about them to anybody. The staff were yelling and screaming while chasing me, but once we were in the car, they were silent. It was like the Grim Reaper had come to get me. Whether I liked it or not, I had to come to terms with the fact that my luck had run out. But I had called Takano-sensei, so I knew he would come to get me. I didn't know when that would be, but I knew it would happen someday. So I wanted to live. I would be saved if I lived. I couldn't even imagine the kind of punishment that was waiting for me. But even so, I said to myself, I had to live. I already found the light at the end of the tunnel. All I had to do was endure until I reached it. The car stopped. We had arrived at the front gate of the orphanage. The two staff members grabbed my shoulders so I wouldn't run. My shoulders were very skinny, so it hurt a lot. I was scared. Scared of what I would have to go through. We went through the door, and I was finally sheltered from the rain. In a way, I wasn't sheltered at all, though. It was the middle of the night, and long past time to turn all the lights off. The orphanage should have been quiet. But I heard a noise. It was a strange noise. The noise of a shower. The noise of metal objects crashing into each other. Also the staffs yelling and screaming. A chill went down my spine. could I possibly write down to fully describe this fear? A staff member knocked on the door of the storage room, and the door opened. The moment it did, an angry roar issued from inside. The sight leapt into my eyes. I couldn't completely take in the bizarre scene before me. 2 staff members were hitting a mat with bamboo swords while yelling violently. They're gonna fucking beat you with bamboo swords? It was a mat used in, you know, the one you use when you do gymnastics. But why was it rolled up like that? The rolled up mat was tied with string and was standing up in the corner. The staff members kept hitting it. Usually words are said to a person. But why were they yelling at a rolled up mat? The way they were hitting and yelling at it, it was as if they'd gone mad. But wait. I could see something sticking out from the top of the rolled up mat. It was... let me see. Whose shoes were those? All of a sudden, I froze and couldn't think anymore. One man stood in front of me. The man's pinky finger was wrapped in bandages. My eyes moved upwards from his pinky finger and met with his. The beast's eyes met mine, peering with intent to devour me. I squeezed out a voiceless scream. My voice didn't come out, so it was more like a goldfish opening and closing its mouth. The beast stuck his little finger in front of me and roared. I couldn't tell if it was a word or a meaningless shriek, but I was certain it was something abusive. I was scared. I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I knew that Dr. Takano would show up to save me. That was why I had to live and submit myself to the fear. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ah! The hand with the bandages grabbed my hair and dragged me along. All I could do was apologize and beg for forgiveness, while hoping the beast had even a tiny bit of mercy in him. I was like a broken, apologizing doll. A mad doll that kept muttering apologies until its key wound down. I was their toy, shedding tears, coughing blood, and apologizing in place of clicking gears. I could see into the shower room while he dragged me along. The door was open. I heard wailing from the inside. What I saw was very strange. There was a locker on its side in the shower. God. They got a kid locked in there, and they're drowning him in the locker, aren't they? What an odd sight. A locker was taking a shower, sideways. I never even imagined anything like that before. The locker was taking a cold shower while 2 staff members hit it with a bamboo sword. What the fuck am I looking at? That explained the metallic noise I heard before. The beast didn't want me to see that. He pulled my hair violently and twisted my neck so I looked in the opposite direction. Then I realized he didn't do that to stop me from watching that shower. He did to make me look at something else. I saw a window in a courtyard. Usually it was too dark to see anything, but the lights were on, and the courtyard was very bright. Then I saw it. Inside the hen house, I saw... Well, leave it up to my imagination, why don't you? It's not like my mind is going to go into very dark places or anything. Not after everything else I've just read for the past couple minutes. What is that? That hair was Eriko's. But why was she... My mind is going to all kinds of places right now, and I'm dreading to conceptualize what I could be reading here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to die. I know Dr. Takano is coming to save me. I know he is coming. I was taken to the staff bathroom. It stunk of ammonia. Why the bathroom? I saw an X, which doesn't fit in the bathroom. Why was this in the bathroom, I thought. He's not planning to blank me with blank, is he? No way. No. Tanashi, this is your punishment for breaking the rules, okay? Everyone must follow the rules. If you don't, you get punished. Do you understand? I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. I'll do everything you tell me to do. I promise. I really do. Please spare me. Please spare me from... No, that hurts. No! If the public got even a whiff of all the shit that went on in there, I could only imagine. The freaking backlash, the outrage. Fucking hell. Thinking about it now, I guess it's kind of becoming easier for me to understand Takano's rather intimate relation with torture methods. It's probably not more. She probably isn't so intimate with that stuff, and not so much that because she's not just so much because she's studied on them in academic books or something, but because she lived through that shit. Through a lot of it, I'm sure. Little wonder that she has probably got a couple screws loose up in the head. Or at least she did even well before she decided to go murder Happy on an entire village. I probably would have a screw or two loose too if I probably underwent whatever torture that she was subjected to exactly. But holy shit, man. I don't know what else to say here other than just everything I just said. I think I'm just going to go ahead and end things here. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now, to be honest. Well, frankly, just the kind of stuff here that apparently went on in this that's apparently going on in this orphanage. Like, really, if prison is probably a freaking prison is probably either adequate or not quite adequate enough of a description. More like a POW camp in some respects. And the guards are torturing the inmates. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Higurashi no Kai Chapter 8. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping that next time we start the next episode, Dr. Takano will show up and give poor Miyoko here a much-needed break from her rather shitty existence, because at this point, I could already use one. From her existence, I mean. Anyway, take care, guys. Have a nice night.